Alright, so this is going to be a short video on loops, some basics of Python, and this is not going to be anything related to biology. This is just to support some of the other videos on my channel where I have dealt with some advanced stuff in BioPython and Python itself, where I've used a lot of these concepts. But since we're coming from biology, a lot of you had asked me to break it down into the basics. So this is for that. So we're not going to tackle any question from biology. We are going to take a simple mathematical problem and we're going to tackle that using loops. So the problem that we're going to deal with, we're going to find the factorial. So factorial is where we calculate the multiplication by stepping down from a number. So for example, when we say factorial of 5, we're gonna basically do 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. So we're gonna start from that number and we're gonna go down by one number at a time till we reach 1, and we're going to multiply all the numbers. So there's going to be the factorial of 5. So how do we do this using a loop? Since we are multiplying it over and over again, we are not going to multiply it every time because that's going to be repetitive, redundant. So we're going to use a while loop and a for loop to do it. So first we're going to see how do we do it with a while loop. So first, let's write a comment, while loop. And for while loop, first we need to form the logic. So the while loop starts like this, while, and it's going to take a variable, let's say I, and we need to put a condition to this I. So let's say, first let me initialize a number. Let's say n is the number or the variable that I'm initializing. Let me put it to 5 for the moment. Let's say we want to calculate the factorial of 5. So I'm going to say I less than or equal to 5. So this is a condition. So the while loop is going to run till the number I will be less than or equal to 5. And whenever you're writing a block of code like loops or conditionals, we give a colon and this will indent the next line. That is, it will give some space so that it is understood that this is a block of code which is under the loop or under the conditional. Next, I'm going to initialize another value, another variable called fact, which I'm going to initialize as 1 because I'm going to update this on every run of the loop. And since I'm going to be multiplying something to this, I cannot initialize it to 0 because it's going to be 0 over and over again when I multiply it with something. And this I, we're going to initialize it to 1. So this is our starting point. Now we move into the while loop. Till this value of I would be less than 5, I want the factorial or the fact to be multiplied by I, and I want to assign this, the fact multiplied by I, into fact again. So fact equals to fact multiplied by I, and every time I do this I want to increment I with 1. That is, I want to add 1 to whatever I was. So I'm going to write I equals to I plus 1. Alright, so first what will happen? First I is equal to 1. This is the initial number that we put in. The while loop will check, is this number less than or equal to 5? Yes, it is. It is 1, which is less than 5. So it is going inside the loop. Now it's going to multiply I with fact, which is also 1 as the initial number. So 1 multiplied by 1, it becomes 1 again, and it will be reassigned to fact inside the loop. And once this calculation is done, it goes to the next line, and this I, it's going to be assigned as I plus 1. So it's going to be incremented by 1, and this value is going to be reassigned to I. So now the while loop will run again. It will see whether I is less than or equal to 5 again. So last time it was incremented, so now it's 2, 1 plus 1, 2. So 2 is less than 5. And again, it's going to go inside the loop. It's going to multiply I with fact, which was 1 in the last case. And now the fact value will increase, will be 2. So now the fact is 2. Again, I will come down to this line. It will be incremented by 1, and it's going to be 3. It will again go to the while loop, and it's going to be checked whether the condition is true. It is true. 3 is less than 5. It's again going to come back. Now our I is 3, but the fact was 2 from last time, because last time we had multiplied 2 multiplied by 1, it was 2. So right now it's going to be 2 multiplied by 3. So like this, it's going to be looping through every time it is incremented and checking the condition where it would stop. Finally, once I reaches 6, that is, once I is 5, and it's going to be incremented by 1, it is 6. It's going to come out of the loop because this condition is going to be false. So once it comes out of the loop, I want to print whatever was stored in the fact. So I do this. I'm going to say print, but this print it has to be, outside the while loop. You cannot put this inside the while loop, because if you put it inside, every time it's going to be printing. So let's see what happens if we put it inside the while loop. If we run this, it's going to be multiplying it every time, and it's going to be giving us the result. But we don't want that. We want it outside the loop so that only one value is printed when the loop breaks. So stop this. We run it again. Now it's going to say only 120 because factorial of 5 is 120. Alright, so now we saw the while loop. We can do the same thing with a for loop as well. So firstly, I'm going to comment only this part out because I don't need the I, and I'll comment the while loop as well. Now, what I'm going to say, for I in range, so we're going to use the range function, and we're going to set it from 1 till n. So if we do this, the last number, it is never displayed. Okay, so let's check it out. If we print this, if we print every element in the from 1 till n, if we print this out, we can see it is only printing till from 1 till 4. Okay, it's not printing 5. But for our factorial, we need the 5 as a starting point. What we're going to do, we're going to say n plus 1. Now if we run it, it's going to print till 5. So there's a trick that you need to remember. If you want to include the last number, you need to write n plus 1 in range, because when you're putting range, it ignores the last number that you're giving it. So right now our range is set, and we can do the same thing that we did in the while loop. Okay, so this factorial, I'm going to copy paste it over here. The factorial, it's going to be, since this I is updating itself, this I in this calculation, it's going to update itself as well. Okay, so if we do this, and if we print it here, stop, if we print it, we're going to get 120. So for loop, it requires one less line of code, because this line is automatically done for for loop, because every time we run the for loop in the range, it updates. And this is possible because we're using the range function. Hence, any loop you use, the logic should be straight, the logic should be strong. If the logic is strong, the loop will run flawlessly. So this is how you can use the while loop and the for loop for iterating over something and taking out some result, which is otherwise going to be repetitive. So that's the simple case use for loops and while loops. I'm going to see you in the next one.